and come sit down with me while I talk to you about my latest read. Hi guys, Luna here from Bursts of Autumn, and welcome to my most recent book review. I'm going to pour myself a cup of tea. Just nearly spilled it everywhere, you know, keeping it real. So I've got my salt rock on, my salt rock lamp. I've got some candles on, and I just thought I would get cozy for you guys. It's been a really hard bank holiday weekend. I had some really bad news yesterday, but I am just pushing on and just trying to keep going, trying to keep a positive mindset, and just trying to create some nice content for you. So as you saw in the title, this is a book review, and it is my latest read, my 7th read of the year, which I'm so proud about because I only read 1 book last year. My goal this year is 20, and I think I'm going to be reading more than that. So my most recent read was recommended by my lovely fellow booktuber and friend Read by Beth, who is wonderful. I'll have her channel linked below and you should definitely check her out. So this book I was meant to read as part of the Women in Horror weekend, but I had a very wishy-washy weekend. My mum was taken into hospital, and yeah, basically I just couldn't manage to read it. So I read it a little bit later than I wanted to, but I'm really glad that I still stuck to my guns, picked this book up and read it. I must say that it started off with a wow, yes, 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 please kind of book, if you know what I mean. The kind of book where you start it and instantly feel hooked and gripped and ready for a gruesome and this could totally happen kind of read, because the situation that the book is something that could happen in the world. Considering we are currently in the midst of a pandemic, this is definitely the kind of read that will get you going, oh my god. It definitely fits the mood and fits the tone of the entire few years that we've been going through with the coronavirus. So let's get cracking. So I gave this book overall a 3 stars, and to be honest, that's not a bad review. It's quite good. So yes, just to quickly show you, so I read this on my Kindle. So it is Tender is the Flesh. Don't know why I keep always thinking it's either Tender the Flesh or Tender to the Flesh, but it's not. It's Tender is the Flesh, and it is by Agustina Bazterrica. And as you can see on the top testimonial, it says, a hideous, bold and unforgettable version of the future. I completely agree. I can definitely see this kind of situation happening. I think that we've got a lot of people who are quite inhumane and would probably put themselves in this situation. So this book is not for the faint-hearted. It is quite gruesome. It is quite in-depth. And put it this way, it does not hold back on the gore or the details. It is a very gruesome book, which I really like. My favourites are horror and crime and anything that's just a bit like, oh dear. I just really find them intriguing, and I much prefer that kind of genre over other genres. So I gave this book overall 3 stars, which isn't bad. I just was not very happy with the ending. After some reflection, I came to understand why the ending was the way it was, and I started to appreciate it, but I still felt like there was about 3 or 4 more chapters that could have been in it, and I just feel like the story fizzled out a little bit. So that is a little bit of a brief description as to why I gave it 3 stars, and when I compare it to other books that I've read this year, yeah, I just have to give it 3 stars. So it started really well and I was instantly favouring it, but then after a few sessions I was just slipping slowly out of love. Started to not want to pick it up and dive in, and that for me is not what I want from a book. I want to be pulled in so much that I don't want to put it down, and that at the beginning was the case, but as the book went on it just started to fizzle out a little bit, and everything I've had going on my end, it just hasn't been the kind of book I'm finding myself going to. However, I decided to finish it because I didn't want to not finish it, I'm not that kind of person who doesn't finish books. Unless I really don't like the book, but I always will try and read it if I can. I really wanted to find out what happened in the crazy world that's you know, portrayed through this book, because I can definitely see the situation being one in our world, and I was just very intrigued as to where the author was going to take it, especially whilst we're in the midst of a huge terrifying pandemic over the past few years. So I felt like I could relate a little bit. I quite like the whole virus feel of it. I've always liked zombies and things like that, so this kind of concept for a book is definitely up my street. So the book starts off on quite a heavy note. As I said earlier, you find yourself following a character who works pretty high up within the new and most important industry in the world. So as you may know, if you've read this book or if you want to read this book, it is about a virus that spreads through animals, and basically it stops animals from being consumed. If humans consume animals' meat or anything that comes from an animal, they will die from this virus the animals are infected in, which means that the meat industry, dairy industry goes out of business, and they think the vegans are going to rise. Whoop whoop, vegans. And they think the vegans are going to rise and sort of take over, but actually the opposite happens, and these inhumane people who just can't go without meat. It reminds me of when I tell people I'm vegan and they say, oh my god, but how can you not have bacon? And I'm like, I don't really see the big deal with bacon, but okay. And yeah, I feel like this is that situation. It's a whole lot of people who just love bacon so much they can't give it up. So yeah, so while you've got some of the people who are going vegan, going plant-based diets, you've then got the quite fucked up situation of people who are actually so incredibly craving meat that a whole industry goes from breeding animals to be consumed to actually breeding humans to be consumed. I know, quite messed up. And like I said, I know that you might think no, but I can definitely see this like in a real situation. Obviously there are cannibals out there anyway, but I could definitely see this being the kind of mass hysteria if this happened, and people not wanting to give up meat so much so that they start to breed humans. So yes, very cool concept, very realistic, the kind of thing that could happen. And yeah, when I first started reading this I was like, oh my god, really like this. So yeah, we first follow the character and basically follow this character the whole way through the book. I think his name is Marco, I could be wrong. I believe they're Spanish. I believe this might be set in Spain. If I've got it wrong, then I'm sorry, my head hasn't really been with it, but I have been, you know, reading it in depth, but I haven't done my research. So yes, you find yourself following a character who works pretty high up within the new and most important industry in the world, the new meat industry, which breeds and uses humans and what is now referred as heads to feed the other humans of the world. And this was called the transition, and to put it short, like I said, animals were used for consumption, but they developed a virus that if passed on to a human through eating the meat will kill them. Therefore animals were executed, including pets, and all meat processing, milking and farms were closed. And yeah, many thought it was the uprising of vegans and that the population would move to veganism, but instead people were so hooked on meat, dairy and such that they began breeding humans, or heads is what they call them in this book, to make milk, cheese, meat and also various products like replicating leather, if I remember correctly. It is some heavy shit. It is. It's scary but very intriguing, and I was so interested in this book. It started with a bang, emotionally anxiety inducing, and did make my stomach turn a little, with all the little details of them processing the heads. But it was the kind of stomach turning that you kind of want to keep listening to. So it's only a short book, and halfway through I was very underwhelmed at how the story was developing. I felt like it wasn't really developing, and it wasn't really going anywhere, more so staying the same with little bits of what the fuck in it. And when I was on and off, it wasn't really making me want to keep reading it. But one day I just decided to carry on and finish it, because I was like, right, it's only a short book, I want to move on to the next one, but I really don't want to not know what happens. I need to know what happens in this, and I wanted to see where the author went with it. It's a very well written book. I enjoyed reading it, and it's not, you know, slating the author, but I really don't understand the ending. Well, I understand the ending, I just don't understand why the person just cut it off. So yeah, I just decided one day, right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to finish this book. And I ended up coming to the end way before I expected, and it really took me by surprise, because, you know, on my Amazon Fire, it tells me how much percentage I am into the book, and I was on like 90%, and I thought, okay, you know, I'm coming towards the end, but there's still a bit to go. Clearly can't cut off now, because there's rarely any development, story development, character development to it. There's literally, it's just sort of the same thing with a few bits of that happen. And yeah, it just ended, and I was like, what? Like, I couldn't speak about it for like a good 10 minutes. I was just there like, and I was just processing it in my head, like, what is going on? What have I just read, and just why? Literally, it was, to put it bluntly, I'm not happy with the ending. And it's really similar to The Weight of Small Things, my previous review, which I'll link somewhere down here at the end of this video. Victor, can you be quiet, please? See, Victor's not happy with this either. Yeah, it ended so quickly without expecting it, and I felt really underwhelmed, where I'd been essentially kicked out of the story. It was just like, it's just like someone had ripped loads of pages out and gone, there you go, you can't read anymore. It was just a huge shock. And it was quite traumatising. It was quite traumatising. The end scene was definitely one that I did not expect. And all the characters we were following led me into like a false sense of security, essentially. Because when I read that last few lines, I then realised that the good characters and the ones that I thought were better than the others actually were more fucked up than I thought, and it was slightly sickening. And yeah, so overall I wasn't very happy with the ending immediately, but upon reflection, I was speaking to Lewis about the book, and I was speaking to him about the ending, and it sort of dawned upon me, like, actually that's got quite a lot of meaning to it. And I was quite impressed, actually. Like, I know that I've just said like, oh, I'm not happy with the ending, but upon reflection I was just like, do you know what, although I don't like the ending and I don't like the fact that we were just kicked out, I actually thought this is quite chunky, if you know what I mean. Like, a very meaty, that's not the right word to use in this situation. It's very meaningful in a way, and again, it's got that like existential crisis kind of thing, where it's like, oh my god, like, I thought I trusted this person, holy shit, that this is so wrong. And yeah, I mean, I can't really say much without spoiling it, so you kind of need to read it and then let me know what you think, because I was like, holy crap, that is deep. And it kind of made me think, what would I do in that situation? Because this lead protagonist has led quite a messed up life. He's gone through quite a lot in his short time of us being with him during the book, and then just like bam, that's it. So yeah, I know that this review has been quite messy, so I do apologise. Just trying to keep it real, keep transparent with you guys. Like I said, haven't had very good news over the weekend. My head's a bit scrambled, but I really wanted to get this review out because I have got my blog post review. It will probably be live by the time you've watched this, and yeah, I'm still getting over the book at the moment, and I'm really interested to see what other people think of it. Like I said, it's a really good book, an amazing concept. I just don't feel like it developed very well. I felt like it developed only on one person's end, with a few bits of, you know, bit of trauma dropped in there, a bit of gore and gruesome scenes and oh dear kind of things. But yeah, and then it just cut short at the end. Very dynamic ending, but not the kind of thing that I would say that's an ending. That is an ending. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth the read. I would definitely recommend it because not everyone has the same thoughts and opinions about book endings. I've always been very critical about endings, whether that's films, TV shows or books. So I kind of take on that bias of I'm super critical, so that's not a reflection of the author. That's my opinion only. So I'm very interested to see what Read by Beth thinks of this book, and I know that she'll probably have a very different opinion to me. So yes, please let me know in the comments if you've read this book. Again, I'm sorry that it's been a little bit confusing, and I'm sorry if I haven't made much sense during this. So yes, awesome concept of a book, just not sure how I feel about the ending, and overall I gave it 3 stars. I am now on an app called Readerly, and I would love it if you could go over there and give me a follow if you're also on Readerly. I am really enjoying it, and I'm going to be posting some of my most recent reviews on there because yeah, why not? So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to link below my blog post review on this, as well as my Goodreads and probably my Readerly as well. And I'll also put my socials in the links below as well. And also there will be a video either side of here. One of them will be the weight of small things, and then I will just see whether I can pop a little playlist in here for you. Thank you so much for sticking around, and if you have enjoyed this, I promise my other videos aren't as confusing as this one. If you've enjoyed this though, I would really appreciate if you could give it a thumbs up and pop a comment, and also maybe share if you like. As well as hitting the subscribe button, which would be absolutely amazing, and it would really help me a lot in growing and making these things possible to create these for you guys. So thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing day, an amazing week, an amazing month, and I am sure I'll see you soon. And if you fancy a chat, pop over to my socials or comment below. Thank you so much. Bye.